enforcement among the proposals, hiring thousands of border agents and deputizing local law enforcement officers as the president meets with new national security candidates. Russia's Trump file, the information Moscow is collecting about the president, including what one insider describes as a psychological portrait. Out of this world, the spectacular blastoff of a SpaceX rocket from the same launch pad where America sent men to the moon. And on the job, a big American company embraces and benefits from people with autism. Nightly News begins now.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Kate Snow.
Good evening. I'm Kristen Welker in tonight for Kate Snow. We begin with the president poised to make key decisions about the nation's security, spending the day at his Florida resort interviewing candidates for National Security Advisor after firing Michael Flynn last week. Those high-level meetings come as we're getting our first glimpse of draft memos, which detail possible new guidelines for deporting undocumented immigrants. While the White House says the memos are just suggestions, immigrant rights groups are already expressing concerns. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell takes a closer look.
Behind the scenes at the president's Mar-a-Lago home in Palm Beach, where a high-level help wanted sign is out. President Trump is interviewing 4 job candidates today to replace the fired National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, all with military and national security backgrounds. The White House Chief of Staff insisted the president's choice will not be forced to keep Flynn's National Security Council team.
The president has said very clearly that the new NSA director will have total and complete say over the makeup of the NSC.
The Trump administration is also poised to roll out new enforcement plans on immigration.
General Kelly, now Secretary Kelly, he's really doing the job. You're seeing it.
New draft memos signed by Secretary Kelly from the Department of Homeland Security read like a blueprint for the president's priorities. At his Saturday night rally, Mr. Trump emphasized deporting criminals.
Get them the hell out of here. Bring them back to where they came from.
The draft memos, a get tough approach, recommend hiring 10,000 officers and agents for immigration and customs enforcement, deputizing qualified local law enforcement to assist with deportations. Other priorities? Expedite the removal of undocumented immigrants in the U.S. for 2 years or less. Undocumented parents who pay smugglers to bring children into the country could face prosecution. Immigration advocates are worried.
If these memos go forward, and even if they don't, their intent is to create fear and chaos in communities across the country.
Tonight, Trump administration officials push back, saying these memos are only drafts that have not been signed off by the White House. And while some components may be accurate, revisions are still being made. And tonight, Kristen, on another issue, the investigation of Russian interference into the 2016 election. Tonight, the Senate Intelligence Committee is asking the White House to preserve any documents, any emails that may be useful in their investigation. Kristen? Kelly, thank you for that report. And a comment the president made during his rally in Florida yesterday about Sweden immediately caused a stir on social media and beyond. The president included Sweden in a list of countries that had suffered terrorist attacks.
You look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Sweden. Who would believe this? Sweden. They took in large numbers. They're having problems like they never thought possible. You look at what's happening in Brussels. You look at what's happening all over the world. Take a look at Nice. Take a look at Paris.
Now, those words about Sweden sparked a quick backlash from officials in that country who wanted to know what he was talking about because there was no attack in Sweden the previous night. For his part, the president tweeted his statement referred to a Fox News story he saw that night that claimed there is a rising violence by immigrants in Sweden. And now from Moscow tonight, an intriguing look at how the Russian government is viewing President Trump as it watches his presidency unfold. The Kremlin's observations about his personality and more are being kept in a file. And NBC's Bill Neely has spoken with some insiders who know what's in it.
Behind the walls of the Kremlin, they're preparing Vladimir Putin for a first meeting with America's president.
Everything is under preparation.
Compiling a dossier on Donald Trump's mental strengths and weaknesses.
7 pages describing psychological portrait of Trump. especially based on the last 2-3 months.
The Kremlin experts believe Mr. Trump can be naive.
He doesn't understand fully who is Mr. Putin. He's a tough guy.
He picks risky fights, they believe, like with the media.
He's dancing on thin ice. It's a risky game.
And relies on his intuition more than his advisors.
He should listen to the people, especially in the areas where he's weak.
The Kremlin is also watching President Trump's problems over Russia, including losing his national security advisor, with growing alarm, according to Putin's former prime minister. Is he laughing in the Kremlin at the minute at what's happening in Washington?
Absolutely not. Not laughing, just the situation is very serious. And the whole his team is very nervous.
In the Kremlin, they want President Trump to end U.S. sanctions against Russia and to improve relations. But they're worried at signs that he's getting tougher on Russia and may not deliver. Many believe hardliners in America want to sabotage the president and his Russia plans. Some even talk here of a conspiracy.
Intelligence services against President Donald Trump. They want to overthrow him.
They want to overthrow him.
Yes, absolutely.
A coup.
Yes, we have, small coup.
Many in Russia celebrated his election, but doubts are growing that Donald Trump will be good for Russia. Putin's analysts are preparing him to meet a U.S. president under pressure. Bill Neely, NBC News, Moscow.
Well, whoever becomes the president's new national security advisor will be joining an administration that is taking a harder line against Iran. Today in Munich, on the sidelines of a security conference, chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel met with Iran's foreign minister and asked him about that.
The Trump administration recently announced that it was putting Iran on notice. What does that mean to you?
Iran is used to this type of language from the United States, but we don't respond well to this type of language.
Iran recently carried out a ballistic missile test. The administration, the U.S. administration, called it provocative. Was it really the right time for this test?
We have to provide for our own defense.
Was it pre-planned,
No,
or was this time to send a message to Washington?
It wasn't time to send a message to anybody.
But U.S. intelligence officials tell NBC News under President Trump, there's an increased risk of an escalation or even a confrontation with Iran. Just over a week ago, the U.S. called off a military raid on an Iranian ship.
Would that have sparked a war?
It would
How do you think things would have been with Hillary in there? We'd have already been fighting.
It would be resisted by Iran.
President Trump has promised to tear up the nuclear deal negotiated by the Obama administration with Iran, which would reimpose sanctions.
If new sanctions are put on Iran by the United States, will Iran respond by restarting its nuclear program?
The nuclear deal was based on not mutual confidence, but mutual lack of confidence. If the agreement is violated, then Iran has the right to go back to its program.
But the foreign minister says he believes the nuclear deal will last. Zarif also weighed in on President Trump's executive order temporarily banning citizens from 7 predominantly Muslim countries, including Iran, from entering the U.S.
This was the single most important help to the extremists because it provides them with a rallying ground to attract new followers.
And that was Richard Engel reporting from Munich. And back in this country, authorities in a New Jersey suburb are saying it could have been much worse. The crash today of a small plane in which the pilot and everyone else survived. We get details from Ron Allen in Bayonne, New Jersey.
On a quiet Sunday morning, out of the clear blue sky, a plane crashes onto this residential street with no warning.
It's upside down, yes. And it looks like it's missing the wing.
I actually seen it go by. A flash. It was a flash.
The vibration was like a rumbling, like an earthquake.
The plane ripped treetops, clipped power lines. A piece of the wing smashed into a gas station, missing the pumps. And miraculously missing dozens of multifamily homes that line both sides of the street. No residents injured.
But it's a straight line.
Straight line. Maybe he was trying to land.
I'm like speechless. I'm really speechless.
Liana Petrie was just about to get into that car to run an errand one of several vehicles the plane destroyed.
It was so loud, and everyone was just in shock. Then everyone started screaming, and we went outside, and it looked like a war zone.
Rescuers had to cut the pilot from the wreckage, identified as George Petway, 56. He's said to be alert and stable at a local hospital. Authorities say he left a small airport on Long Island sightseeing, encountered some sort of mechanical trouble near the Statue of Liberty after flying about 40 miles. Police say Petway told them he then tried to glide the plane down safely in Bayonne, a short distance away.
It could have been a disaster. We were very lucky.
Tonight, crews have restored power to hundreds of homes while they haul away the wreckage from a community grateful the destruction was not worse. Ron Allen, NBC News, Bayonne, New Jersey.
Just incredible. Well, authorities in Malaysia held their first news conference today since the mysterious death of a half-brother of North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un. And with it came news of more arrests in the case. We get the latest now from NBC's Janice Mackey-Freyer in Malaysia.
A week since the death of Kim Jong-nam, the North Korean